Hello, my name is Kanisha Anderson, and we are doing our project on the Ellison Preschool school-wide implementation of FCT, PECs, and social narratives. A little bit about myself is that I am currently in my master's program at Ball State University. I am currently taking courses for special education, and I am in my second to last semester there. I've been working in applied behavior analysis for about 3 years now, and I love what I do. I was inspired to get into the field because of a family member that also had learning barriers that impacted his learning abilities. And I am going to pass it off to Catherine Dry for more information.
My name is Catherine, and I have been in the field for 3 years. I've worked as a registered behavior technician at a clinic that serves kids with autism. I love what I do as well, and I'm happy to be on the behavior consultation team. I'm also part of Ball State University's master's program for applied behavior analysis. Now I introduce to you Neely.
Hi, I'm Neely Hallerman, and I am also obtaining or working towards my master's in ABA through Ball State. I also had 3 years experience in the field. However, mine's a little different. I've been a paraprofessional for the past 3 years at a public school serving children primarily ages 5 to 7. And the children that I have worked with have had a variety of needs from Down syndrome to autism, anxiety, and other developmental delays. And I actually just started in the private sector working as a behavior therapist.
Okay, so today we will present to you evidence-based research and intervention ideas that are proven to decrease those undesirable behaviors and increase good sharing behavior and communication skills. For Ellison Preschool, you all are an urban preschool in Illinois. You have 200 students, and 150 of those students receive special education services. 50 students are nonverbal, and 5 students currently use Picture Exchange Communication System, or PECS, which will be explained in further detail later on in our presentation. At your preschool, you have concerns of tantrum behavior as well as aggression, and you would like the sharing behaviors of the children to go up. So today we will be presenting some ideas for you. You all have multiple available resources as part of your staff. You have 20 classroom teachers, 40 aides, 2 speech pathologists, 1 occupational therapist, 1 physical therapist, and 4 to 6 daily volunteers, as well as a BCBA.
Ellison Preschool Interventions. Research demonstrates that functional communication training is an effective way to combat problem behavior. So we are recommending functional communication training, which includes PECS, also known as the Picture Exchange Communication System, and social stories. We'll also be explaining and teaching ways to help implement extinction. Functional communication training, what is it? It's also known as FCT. That's the acronym for functional communication training. It's a way to teach children how to communicate with words, whether they're spoken or printed, pictures or other symbols to communicate their wants and needs. Reinforcement is provided when an individual responds appropriately to the communication request. For example, Scatone and Billhofer in 2008 taught a nonverbal child to answer, "What do you want?" That's known as a mand. Or, "What is it?" That's known as a tact, to obtain access to preferred items and activities and thus reduce aggressive behaviors. PECS, what is it? PECS is known as the Picture Exchange Communication System. It's an augmentative communication system that is commonly used for individuals who have been diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder, individuals who are nonverbal, or for individuals with limited functional communication ability. According to Martocchio and Rosales in 2017, the Picture Exchange Communication System comprises of 6 training phases that should be taught sequentially in order for the communication system to become functional for the learner. Choice boards can be created using picture symbols for children to request items that they prefer. Here's an example of the communication with picture symbols. You can see on the left, there's strips that sort of are sentence strips. I want thee. That would be printed on cardstock with lamination, and attached to it through Velcro would be the symbols of the toys. So a child who is trying to communicate that they want a toy they could point to the words or say the words, I want thee, and then point to the toys or tear the toy off the Velcro. So they could say, I want thee, and tear the fire truck off the Velcro and show it to you so that you know what they're looking to play with. Social stories, what are they? Social stories are narratives written to specifically teach students appropriate social interactions, behaviors, and skills. They often use simple language, visual cues, and directions for appropriate behavior. Payne, Sidner, Vladescu, and Nigurdru in 2015 utilized social stories in FCT to decrease problem behavior and increase commanding in 2 participants. Social stories can be written specific to one student or to an entire class. They can be written to teach children how to ask for toys, wait for toys, and what appropriate behaviors are expected in the classroom. Here's an example of one of our social stories. These are some pages from one of our social stories that we created for Ellison Preschool. You can see that they use stimulating visual imagery and things that children would enjoy to read. You could use this story in a PowerPoint presentation on the smartboard in the classroom, or print it out like a storybook and read it to the children. A couple things I want to point out is that we have made this personal to the children of Ellison Preschool, and that we talk about them being superstars and that they love to, super students, and that they love to play with toys. And then we start to introduce the concepts of sharing. For example, we say on the second to last slide, when a super student wants a toy and another student is already playing with that toy, they can ask to share. They can say, can I play with that toy, or can I have that?
Extinction. Extinction is a procedure that denies access to preferred items and activities during problematic behaviors. Studies have shown that extinction is an effective way to decrease problem behaviors when implemented consistently and with fidelity. When extinction is first introduced, Hagelplan, Crockett, Van Stone, De Leon, and Bauman in 2000 found that participants were exposed to a procedure including extinction exhibited and extinction burst, in which the problem behavior briefly increased prior to decreasing. However, only when the extinction portion of the intervention was introduced did the participants make meaningful, significant improvements in thinning their reinforcement schedules and increasing appropriate behavior. Tips for extinction. Do not verbally acknowledge the behavior. Remove preferred item activity. Regain compliance by implementing behavior momentum. Example of this is a one-step nonverbal imitation, such as clapping hands, jumping in place, and touching toes, to say a few. Once the child is able to independently respond to the targets comprising the behavior momentum sequence, reinforce appropriate behavior with minor verbal praise. Example, compliance and refraining from tantrums, physical aggression. Next, determine motivation for reinforcement. Following this, use functional communication training to teach the appropriate way to man for escape access. Examples of code prompts that could be used is, I'm playing with this, can I have a turn? Or using PECs to identify tangible. If the item is available for sharing, reinforce appropriate man and immediately provide a tangible. If the item is unavailable, reinforce appropriate man also, and explain that the item is unavailable and they must find something else. Reinforce the compliance. If non-compliance is displayed, repeat steps number 1 through 3 and redirect the child to another item that is available. Our plan to help Ellison Preschool. First, we plan to meet with administration to discuss concerns. Following this, we plan to collect ABC data, operationally define target behaviors. Next, discuss plan with administration, collect baseline. Next, discuss training, staff training day, followed by implementation. And lastly, evaluate and adjust if necessary.
We would plan to utilize all 3 tiers of intervention for Ellison Preschool. For Tier 1, social stories and modeling how to share. PECs would also be introduced to all children, so they can become familiar with picture symbols. All children at the Tier 1 level would be introduced to the functional communication as well as social stories. For Tier 2, we would utilize PECs in small groups, and the small groups would be considered for higher needs children who need a little bit more support. And lastly, the children who are nonverbal and or exhibiting continued aggression after introducing social stories in small group functional communication training, they may require Tier 3 intervention supports. This would include a more specialized plan that includes one-to-one instruction of PECs as well as extinction procedures.
Our strategy: collect data and understand the behavior concerns of Ellison Preschool. Provide a half day of training, staff teacher training session to educate staff on FCT, PECs, and social stories. Model and instruct implementation methods at half day, half training session. Provide data sheets and analyze baseline and intervention data. And lastly, provide continued support and instructions of staff.
Next, we have the modeling PECs. So we will have a video available to you all to learn the different phases of PECs. Attached to this presentation is the link for the YouTube video. Some materials that you'll need for the implementation would be software or computer to create pictures, symbols, and additional social stories, a laminator machine and film, Velcro, cardstock, a binder, visual timers, data collection sheets, which we will provide and analyze, and social stories created by the behavior consultation team. We have different data collection sheets. You'll see here we have an ABC data form where the teacher can see if there's a behavior, and if there is a behavior, they will mark which one. They can also write the student's name as well as the start and end times of the behavior, and then they will also check what happened before the behavior, what happened after the behavior. We also have another form which can be filled out after ABC data is complete. And with this particular type of form, it's convenient, easy to use. It shows you how your class is doing as a whole with these behaviors, as well as how the individuals themselves are doing. If there is a behavior, you just mark it in the corresponding box with the different times. They're 10-minute intervals so that the teacher can mark it quickly and move on with teaching. How staff will help support. We suggest that main classroom teachers focus on reading the social stories to the entire class during circle time. During center playtime, we suggest the teacher and the aides break the class into 3 groups and rotate between desired play areas. During this time, the staff can introduce picture symbols on choice boards and activity schedules, as well as place them on shelves holding or next to desired items. Additionally, staff can select times that it makes most sense to address children with lower verbal skills to work with them individually. Furthermore, physical therapists, occupational therapists, and speech pathologists will incorporate the use of PECs and FCT during their individual sessions. Finally, volunteers can assist with the printing, cutting, and laminating PECs pieces and boards.
Funding, professional development, and parent involvement. Technology costs up to $4,000, including iPads and visual interactive boards. Before implementing the iPad system, Ellison School will be utilizing other methods of implementation. Each nonverbal child will be provided with a PECS book. Startup costs for basic supplies estimated to be about $500. BCT service estimated to be $1,700 to $2,900, which includes 10 consultation hours with BCT, $600 total. A monthly or biweekly parent training in the school year, $600 to $1,200. Half-day professional training will include a presentation on PECs, social stories, and extinction procedures. Free parent training will be offered for FCT and PECs. Social stories can be shared with families to be read at home. Tips: be consistent and ask questions. Keep language simple and direct. Always acknowledge and encourage appropriate attempts to communicate. Talk with your students, even if they cannot currently talk back to you. Model appropriate behaviors. Stay calm if problem behaviors increase or persist. Do not talk negatively about a student in front of the student. Be creative in thinking of different ways to get your students to ask for your assistance or ask for items. Example of this: hide crayons, but put preferred items in boxes with hearts open lids. Place items in harder to reach places. Make crafts that require multiple pieces. Do anything that helps your client get more opportunities to request from you and peers. Lastly, collect data daily and pay attention to your students' progress. And I just want to say thank you all for listening to our project.